right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Openly Occultic Book Club. We're reading the definitive book of human design, authorized by Ra Uru, who is the founder of the human design system. He's since passed away, but he was alive when this book was written, and him and the author worked together to get the system out on pages so that people can read and learn and understand what this is all about. The last time we were together, we read or started to read section 10, looking at the different gates and lines and what have you. We read gates 1 through 10. Today, we're going to start back up on gate 11. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me here today. Make sure to share the video so other people can start learning about human design as well. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, we're back at gate 11. Speaking of peace or ideas, it's a harmonic condition in the individual society that permits assessment before renewed action. Line 6 is adaptability, the inner balance to accept transition. The innate awareness that all forms are transitory, right? The innate awareness that all forms are transitory. The realization that ideas lead to change and are changeable. Now, for the detriment, it's in Jupiter. Remember, detriment does not mean bad or negative. It's just there's a polarity to all things. So you can, you'll go back and forth between these things actually. So for the detriment, it's adaptability in its most negative manifestation. The speculator who profits at the expense of others in times of peace or war. The realization of what idea is of value in any situation. So you can see how both are good or necessary for the evolution of thoughts and ideas and all things, right? So we just want to remind everybody that though it's a detriment, that does not mean it's negative. It just kind of, it kind of shows you the other way, the this or that, if you will. It could be either this or that. And with this energy, this line 6 of gate 11, adaptability. So when it comes to adaptability, it could be this or that, right? The innate awareness that all forms are transitory, the realization that ideas lead to change and are changeable, and then the that is adaptability in its most negative manifestation. The speculator who profits at the expense of others in times of peace or war. The realization of what idea is of value in any situation. So it says this is adaptability in its most negative manifestation. I don't I don't know because when we started section 10 and it was speaking of the detriment and what all that means, it said we're not talking about good or bad. We're not talking about positive or negative. We're talking about this or that, just the duality, the polarity, if you will. So for it to say adaptability in its most quote unquote negative manifestation, I I would I would just kind of like let that flow off of you. Don't hold on to that too much because this word negative, we have to understand that we need light and dark. We need sunny days and we need water, rainy days, storms, if you will. So when we say negative, we're not saying it's not necessary. We're not saying do away with it. We're not saying that life can go on without it. No, we need it. So just keep that in mind when you understand that. So there are some people who have this energy going on about them. They're the speculator who profits at the expense of others in times of peace or war. Um, I don't know, Rockefellers come to mind, right? Um, some of these families, these quote unquote Illuminati families, that they profited during war on both sides. And I hear it's because they had uh, uh, communication. They were able to get information sooner than other people of what was going on around the world, what moves were being made. So they were able to profit in times of peace or war. And even during war, they were able to profit on both sides. And that's because the realization of what idea is of value in any situation. So it's about, you know, I mean, life just be lifing, right? There's all kinds of energies. There's all kind of frequencies out here. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about these lines. We're talking about frequency, right? energy. So just understanding that there's all kinds of manifestation of this line 6 in gate 11 energy, right? So it can be this or that. And all of it is necessary. So don't beat yourself up if you feel you have a detriment in any of these gates or lines that we're talking about. Um, I just wanted to recap that information just to give us a friendly, gentle reminder that we need both. Line 5, the philanthropist, the motiveless nurturing of the disenfranchised to ensure harmony, philosophic and humanitarian ideas, right? Mercury is in detriment here. So the withdrawing from direct contact, where giving is a form of defense, giving away ideas out of a sense of insecurity. Mm-hmm. We have line 4, the teacher. All this is in gate 11. So you check your chart. If you have gate 11, after the dot or decimal point, that's where you find which line you have for gate 11. What energy are you dealing with personally? That's where we're going to start, right? We start with our own chart and learn all we need to learn about ourselves. And in the midst of that, we're learning about other people as well. But primarily, you want to start to apply these things to yourself. Start learning yourself, because only by learning yourself can you love yourself, right? You don't have to beat yourself up for the things that you feel are weak about yourself or negative about yourself. You don't have to beat yourself up. Just understand the wholeness of you, right? So, line 4 is the teacher, the ability to express the essential nature of peace, right? The ability to express the essential nature of peace. I like that. So you have the moon on the positive side. I can't remember the word just at the moment. I know it's detriment for the negative, quote unquote, negative side, but I'm getting a blank right now. But you have the moon sign in that area, and it says the sage that in the extreme can teach harmony to the tone deaf. Venus is also exalted. The ability to right. So the moon is exalted here on line 4, right? Line 4 is about the teacher. We're in the gate 11, gate of peace or ideas. Peace and ideas, right? So line 4 is the teacher. The moon is exalted. Earth is in detriment. The moon, it says, it's the sage that in the extreme can teach harmony to the tone deaf. Very necessary, right? Venus is also exalted. This is the ability to reach out and attract the alienated, concepts which are clear and transferable, ideas which can attract and inform the uneducated. Yes, so we need that energy, right? And then in the detriment, which is run by the earth sign, the guru, whose most valued wisdom is intentionally limited to a few, ideas which can only be grasped by the few, right? So there's that as well. Not everybody can grasp all things, as we know. Some ideas, some concepts can only be grasped by a small percentage of people, right? And so therefore, you can see how this is necessary as well. The guru, whose most valued wisdom is intentionally limited to a few. Okay? So understand, not everybody's going to get all things. Okay? Line 3, the realist, the acknowledgement that peace is transitory. Here we have Pluto exalted, and you have Venus in detriment. So for Pluto, it says the internal renewal to maintain strength and alertness, the realization that ideas come and go. And then in detriment is the tendency to appreciate harmony to the point of delusion, the belief that beauty is eternal, fiddling while Rome burns, right? Or playing the band was playing as the Titanic sunk. Okay, a pleasure in ideas that have no real application. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Line 2 is rigor, the recognition that without vigilance and risk, peace can lead to stagnation and collapse. The imagination applied to ensuring the understanding of achieved values, a sense of boredom overcome through the imagination. right? The imagination applied to ensuring the understanding of achieved values. Now we have Mars in detriment here, and that would be the resorting to factionalism to satisfy the ego's need for action, provoking with ideas to escape boredom. So you have that as well. Both of these energies can manifest. And we're just talking about the possibility of all these things to happen, right? So the possibility of that happening, if you have line 2 and a gate 11, I mean, it's always a this or that. There's always polarity. You're going to always be swinging back and forth between these two, right? I like to say wholeness and balance here. So we're working on balancing it out and balancing out the whole thing, right? So if you're just trying to negate the detriment or quote unquote negative or quote unquote dark side of yourself, you're not practicing holism. Okay, go ahead and embrace all aspects of yourself and work towards balancing out what you got going on, right? That's what I think is the best. And do you agree with me that that's how we should be practicing these things? Um, Trying to work towards wholeness and balance? Let me know in the comments. Line 1 is attunement, the serendipity of being in the right place at the right time. Here, the moon is exalted and Mars is again in detriment. For the moon, it says that the nourishment derives from being with those who share the same goals and aspirations. The gift of finding those who will value your ideas, right? It's always a good thing. In detriment is the fear of anonymity, the sense that no one will value their ideas. So you go back and forth between these things. All right. Gate 12 is called Standstill, caution, the quality of restraint and the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. Mm. We'll start out with line 6 as always, because when it comes to these things, we start with line 6 as it's at the top. Line 1 is a ground floor foundation type energy. So, anyway, line 6 is metamorphosis, faith in and energy applied towards change and the emergence from standstill. Mm-hmm. We have the sun exalted here. I'm sorry. Earlier I said the earth was in detriment on line 4, but that's actually the sun. Okay. So here we're on gate 12 line 6. The sun is exalted, the earth is in detriment. Creative transcendence that when connected to the harmonic gate 22 through the channel of openness leads to successful mutation and the emergence of a new social form. It's the capacity to mutate and express new social forms. Okay? Yes. And as for the detriment, a retrograde metamorphosis that has evolved a perfected adaptation to standstill, the perfected adaptation to caution that can accept social limitations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Line 5, the pragmatist. The success of restraint lies in not abandoning the lessons learned when the phase ends. The sun is exalted here and Mars is in detriment. For the sun, it says light is always conscious of darkness. Caution as an expression of social experience. Mm-hmm. And for the Mars in detriment, the tendency to remember only the most painful lessons learned. Caution, which is conditioned by the most painful social experiences. So there's that as well. It's always going to be a this or that when it comes to this line 5 and gate 12. And we can see how all these things, how this ties together. Gate 12, standstill, caution, the quality of restraint, and the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. And then here we have the pragmatist, right? So the success of restraint lies in not abandoning the lessons learned when the phase ends. So on one hand, you can always remember all lessons, right? And then the other one is really the tendency to remember only the most painful lessons, right? So Line 4 is the prophet, the ability to foresee and plan for the end of standstill. Earth is exalted here. Mercury is in detriment. For the exhaustion is the rousing of the stagnant for communal preparation. The ability to foresee and express the need for social interaction and an end to caution, right? We got to rouse up the stagnation. We need to prepare for the change that's about to come, right? We're in line 12, standstill, caution, right? So we got to, for this one, you're on your way out of this standstill, out of this stagnation. And before doing so, we got to prepare. We got to give people a reason to know why a change must occur. So, the ability to foresee and express the need for social interaction and an end to caution, right? Um, in detriment is Mercury. It says the voice in the wilderness, the expressed need for social interaction that falls on deaf ears. So you could be calling yourself trying to get people ready for this change that must occur. We need to evolve. A mutation, a change, a new idea, a new thought, something has to occur, a new way of doing things, something has to occur because we're just stagnant and we need to change so things can grow and get better. So, but you could be ready to do that and you're like, hey, in your exalting energy, you're like, hey, we gotta talk about what needs to change before we can actually change it. And to have this talk is to make an end to being cautious, right? We're ending this cautiousness. We're ready to move forward. Before we can move forward, we need to talk about why we need to move forward, though. Or you could be there like, things need to change, and you're telling people, hey, we need to change, we need to talk about this, but nobody wants to talk about it just yet. So now you're just a voice in the wilderness. You still know, you're still the prophet, you still can see what needs to happen. It's just you're ahead of time in so many ways. Nobody's really ready to listen just yet. So you're the voice in the wilderness. I need to look at my chart to see if I have that because quite often I feel like I'm early, ahead of time, and just a voice in the wilderness, crying out to the wind. Nobody's really listening. Very few really understand the importance of what I'm saying. So let me go ahead and take a moment to pull up my chart to see if I have that. Okay, I pulled up my chart, and no, I don't have line 12 at all on my chart, let alone line 12, uh, gate 12, line 4. So just a thought I wanted to check into. Anywho, back to the video or back to reading. Line 3 is confession, the process of self-analysis. Right? We have what is this? Neptune, Uranus. I think this is Neptune. The recognition of inadequacies and the purging of unjustified vanities, the expression of inadequacies in social interaction that leads to self analysis and caution, right? And then Mars is in detriment, which is a perverse and often exaggerated self hatred, inadequacies in social interaction that lead to the expression of self hatred. So be cautious of that and just know that that's the energy you're working with, first of all, right? Because knowing is half the battle. First, you need to know this, and then you can be cautious or work on the balance, right? So, line 2 is purification, rigorous withdrawal from negative influences. The discipline, Saturn is exalted here, Mercury is in detriment. The discipline to maintain a pure state, the expression of disciplined social caution, and for the detriment, the boredom that arises out of lack of stimulation, caution that manifests boredom, and the expressed desire for stimulus. So you have both. Line 1 is the monk, withdrawal that can only be maintained with communal support. Here you have Venus exalted, you have Saturn in detriment, the beauty and harmony possible beyond the reach of temptation, the expression of social withdrawal and its value when supported by others. And then you have Simon the Stylite, total and often absurd withdrawal, the absurd expression of social caution and extreme withdrawal from emotional contact. Okay? I can see it. I can see it. Can you guys see it? Does this make sense to you? Let me know in the comments if you can see or discern, you know? Gate 13 is called the Fellowship of Man, the listener. Universal ideals or ideas and values in an ordered framework which inspires humanistic cooperation. Line 6 is the optimist, the ability to accept any limited interaction as a necessary step towards greater union. All right, Mars is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. Mars is saying the energy to persevere, unlimited hope, the hope that openness will lead to better relationships. And then on the other side, the flip side, the this or that of things is naivety, the translation of mutual interest into universality, the belief that mutual interest can be projected on others. They're saying that's naive. Line 5, the Savior, the ability to overcome all obstacles for the betterment of humanity. The charismatic genius who can find a role for everyone, the listener that has a gift for finding a role for others. And then Saturn is in detriment, so it's called the able administrator. Given the extreme positive nature of this position, mundane application is rare. The listener whose gift for finding a role for others is practical and suited to administration. Mm-hmm. You have line 4, fatigue. Now remember, we're in gate 13, the fellowship of man, the listener, right? So fatigue is the point of exhaustion eventually reached when one is too tired to fight. The renaissance that comes with truce and its eventual reinvigoration. Openness, which leads to exhaustion and the need for silence, right? Little break, but you charge your batteries back up and you're right back at it. Or you could have emotional exhaustion, appeasement and withdrawal, a role where openness is a vulnerability. Line 3 is pessimism, the belief that what is best can never be achieved. The earth is exalted here, right? Venus is in detriment. A lack of trust that can only be transformed through concrete evidence. Openness that's conditioned by suspicion and seeks evidence, right? And then on the other side, you have pessimism exalted to an art form, whereas art, it may have the opposite effect. Satire, where the rightness of suspicion can inspire satire, right? For those that read the Onion, what is it, the Onion? Right? It's super satiric, right? Um, but it's an art form. It can be exalted as an art form, this pessimism, right? You got to laugh to keep from crying out here. It's so ironic. I just want to laugh. The irony of it all, right? So there's that if you're dealing with that energy. Line 2 is bigotry. The risk, always present, that fellowship can only exist for a particular type, whether racial, religious, national, or intellectual. Hmm. The moon is exalted here, the sun is in detriment. Tolerance as the least offensive manifestation of bigotry, a role of openness through tolerance. Or the obsessive belief that the highest ideals cannot be embraced by the lowest forms, an extremely difficult position where even the highest ideals provide rationalization for hatred, a role of openness so narrow that there's practically no one worth listening to. Mm. So there you have that bigotry energy, right? And line 1 is empathy, the ability to relate and commune with everyone with equanimity, right? Harmony through affection, a role of openness in listening to others with affection. Or it could be the politician kissing babies, an openness that's never free of motives, right? So when you talk about empathy, you have people that are really empathetic and people that are pretending to be empathetic because they have a motive. Okay, so you're gonna go this and that. It's gonna go back and forth between these things. You're gonna you know what I mean? So let me know if you have that line on gate 13, line 1. Leave it in the comments if you have line 1 and gate 13, and let us know if you're political. Thinking about running for office? Let us know. Ready to kiss some babies? To show the people that you love babies. I love babies. I love little humans. I care about little humans. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure these little humans get what they need. Um, if you just vote for me. Okay, gate 14, possession in great measure, power skills, right? I do have gate 14. I know that. Um, let me see. I have gate 14, right? Gate 14 and well, maybe I don't have gate 14. No, I do have gate 14. I don't know. I'm not seeing what gate it is. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at here. Because it does say I have gate 14. I'm just not seeing it right away. You see here on my personality side, I'm sorry, on my design side in Uranus, or is this Neptune? I always get it. I think it's Uranus. Gate 14, line 1. And you could just see on my chart in general in the sacral center, gate 14. Why am I not seeing what line? Okay, yeah, gate 14, line 1. Sorry, I did see it. My mind is moving too fast. Okay, so I have gate 14, line 1. All right, so we'll go ahead and read about this gate 14. Let's get this off the screen. Okay. Gate 14, possession of great measure, power skills. The accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. Line 6 is humility, wealth and power at its most exalted. The sun is exalted here, the earth is in detriment. For the sun, it says the enlightened recognition that material success is God's will. Spirituality as the key to acceptance and the source of power. Or it could be all manifestations of this position are essentially positive. The earth represents the essentialist recognition that material success was unavoidable and the humility engendered by such serendipity. Right? Essentialism as the key to acceptance and the source of power. Interesting. So all manifestations of this position are basically positive. Line 5, arrogance, the ever-present risk inherent in positions of power, right? Heavy is the head that wears a crown. Innate dignity that is a key to power, okay? Or a dissatisfaction with the gifts of others that creates feelings of superiority. Innate recognition of those without power fueling the illusion of superiority. Yeah, I see that too. Line 4 is security, the concentration on establishing a strong foundation. Some people are just focused on that. Protection from assault. The key to power lies in developing skills to ensure a strong foundation, right? Or overconfidence in meeting the challenge of competition that may threaten the very basis of security. Without the proper skills, the inability to guarantee security. So you're going back and forth between these things. Line 3, service, the utilization of talent and wealth for the highest good. The earth is exalted here. Selfless contribution to society. The key to power lies in selfless contribution to others. Or greed and the self-destruction of moral fiber. The power of selfishness to fuel greed. Line 2 is management, the wisdom that investing in expertise brings rewards. Expansion, the ability to delegate responsibility. Yeah, because Jupiter, We know Jupiter's exalted here. We know Jupiter is about expansion, right? Growth. So expansion, the ability to delegate responsibility. The key to power lies in not trying to be and to do everything alone, or the vanity to be one's own best expert. The key to power is doing everything individually. So you're going to go back and forth between that, right? Management. Yes. The wisdom that investing in expertise brings rewards. So you're going to either, hey, delegate some responsibility knowing you can't do it all alone, or you're going to feel like, yeah, I have to do it all on my own. Nobody else can do this. So, hey, there's that. And then line one, which is my line, right? Line one, money isn't everything. The recognition that wealth has its own problems, right? Yeah. I think the notorious B.I.G., right? Biggie Smalls says something about that, right? Um, More money, more problems. Yeah. I remember the song. I remember the song. Lyric line bar upon bar, line upon line. I know the song, I know the lyrics. Do you guys? Do you know that money having wealth has its own problems? I'm sure we all here know that, right? Money, the wealth comes with its own problems. First of all, you got bigger bills. So, right? Anyway, the lust for lucre tempered by higher principles. The lust for lucre tempered by higher principles. The key to manifesting power is higher principles. That's because Jupiter is exalted here, right? And then Mercury is in detriment, the delusion that you can throw money at problems. Energy alone can never be the key. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Gate 15, modesty, extremes. Another gate that I have. Let me show you what I mean. Let me pull this up. Gate 15, it's my sun sign on my personality side. Gate 15, line 1, right? So, yes, I do have gate 15 and I have it on line 1. So, gate 15, modesty, extremes, the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. Line 6 is self defense, modesty that's never confused with weakness. Pluto's exalted, Venus is in detriment. Constant re examination to weed out the weakest aspect, the power of the self in exploring the extremes to find the weakest point, right? So you can weed it out, right? Or a tendency to use harmony as a weapon in problem situations rather than focusing on the root causes. The power of the self to ignore the weakest point in favor of harmony. So you're either going to use the power of self to explore the extremes to find the weakest point, or you'll use the power of self to ignore the weakest points in favor of harmony, right? It's all self defense, though. Yes? Protect yourself. It's to protect your own mind and your own spirit, your own health, your own, it's to protect yourself. And then what you do is you kind of work on it. You just get stronger. You kind of work on it little by little. Because at the end of the day, we can only handle things that we can handle. If you can't handle something, no use trying to attack it or fix it, or you're just not in the place to handle it at the moment. A lot of us, most of us, all of us. I said a lot of us, most of us, and said all of us. All of us are dealing with trauma. We're all healing. Nobody is healed completely or will be. You're not going to be in life and completely healed. In life here on earth, that's not going to happen. So we're all healing different wounds, most that occurred during childhood, right? We're trying to work on deconditioning ourselves. So some things are very sensitive. You're not expected to attack your most sensitive issues when you're not strong enough to do so. If you're not able to even think about it, you try not to even think about some of those traumas. There's no way you're going to accept them and learn to work on them. You know what I'm saying? To see if maybe to start looking in yourself for a weak point. You're still wounded. You're still for lack of better words, a victim. You're still hurting. So you're not ready to deal with your weakest points. You have to get a little stronger before you can start doing that. I say all this just to say I'm here with you. I realize what the battle is, and I wish you well. I don't want you to take on more than you can bear, right? So if it's not time for you to deal with certain topics, certain weaknesses, or certain just to look deeply within yourself just yet, it's not time. You don't have to do it. It's not time. But the day will come when this work does have to be done. Shadow work, healing your trauma, you know. So when it's time, it will be time. You know what I mean? I something about that line 6, self defense, really kind of made me want to. It made me want to give you a hug. Tell you the truth, right? I could see how hard it could be to look within yourself to weed out weak aspects within yourself, or not really weed out, but to even just see it within yourself, um let alone to start working on balancing it out. You know what I mean? I can see how hard that can be. And I just want to wish you the best. I want to let you know we're rooting for you here at the Openly Occultic Book Club, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk. Anybody, you can reach out to me if you want to talk about so many things. And of course, you can go to the CGH chat room, right? The Openly Occultic Book Club chat room that we have running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go in there, drop a line. Um, you could just go in there and say, hey, can you email me? Can you contact me here on this platform or that platform? Can you email me? Whatever the case may be, if you want to talk. Because that's what we want to do. We want to open a community here. We want to build a community where we're all working on healing ourselves, dealing with all these different issues we got going on in an organic, holistic way. That's what we want to do. We want to deal with this energy that we got going, heal these traumas, heal the health, mental health, spiritual health, physical health. All these things need to occur, and we just want to have a place for you to do that. So if you need to ever talk, you can meet me in the CGA's chat room, and we can discuss anything. We could discuss these things. All right. Line 5, sensitivity. And of course, that CGA's chat room is at cedargroveherbs.com, right? Cedargroveherbs.com. Okay, line 5, sensitivity. The ability to sense when otherwise balanced behavior must be adjusted to meet the requirements of a changing environment, right? So here you have Jupiter is exalted and Pluto is in detriment. The power to grow, the capacity of the self to grow through experiencing the extremes, or the tendency to overcompensate, the drive of the self to overcompensate and disturb the flow. Mm-hmm. Line 4 is called the wallflower. Modesty as a shield against exposure of inadequacy. Again, Jupiter is, what's the word? Exalted. And Saturn is in detriment here. A genuine form that may or may not mask inadequacies, the uncomfortableness of the self when it's out of the flow, or an ultimately weak defense leading to exposure and humiliation, extremism that keeps the self out of the flow. Okay? So, this or that, this polarity of being the wallflower. Line 3 is ego inflation, the risk that modesty, once recognized, will self destruct. The earth is exalted, Mercury is in detriment, where the otherwise negative contrived modesty is here reinforced by recognition and maintained as an effective strategy. The extremism of the self as strategy to control the flow. Okay? Or it's the I told you so mentality, the capacity of the self to point out the extremes of others. Line 2 is influence. The sun is exalted, the earth is in detriment. Modesty and right action resulting in enduring standards. The capacity of the self to accept its extreme nature as correct. Or where the sun's actions are natural, the earth's are contrived. Though given the power of this position, the same effect can be expected: the capacity to use the extreme nature of the self to influence others. Okay? And line 1, duty: the ability to confront any challenge without expectations. Venus is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. The ability to confront any challenge without expectations, harmonic relationships which give support for the fulfillment of any task, the capacity of the self to confront any challenge through extreme and harmonic relationships. Yeah, I got that going on as well. I do have that going on. And also alienation engendered through exaggerated claims, the capacity of the self to alienate others through extremes, right? So working on a balance, yeah, I try not to make any exaggerated claims. I try to be as truthful and as authentic as possible, right? So yeah, absolutely. What I said stands, where it's just a this or that, and you're trying to work on balance, right? You accept the wholeness of it. I accept the this or that, and I work on a nice balance in between the two, if you will. All right, gate 16, enthusiasm, skills, the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. Line 6 is gullibility, the susceptibility to propaganda. All right, them tabloid journals, journalistic um propaganda. It just made me think of I got a degree in radio and TV broadcasting. So it made me think of tabloids, how tabloids even came to begin to be in the first place. And news, propaganda, right? The ability to experience, examine, and then reject misleading enthusiasm, the talent to assess the expression of others. Or the same principle, but where Neptune will destroy and then seek new forms. So that exalted symbol is Neptune. I keep forgetting. So I always get Neptune and Uranus mixed up. But yes, Neptune is the three tridents, right? Okay. So for Jupiter in detriment, it's the same principle, but where Neptune will destroy and then seek new forms, Jupiter will painfully withdraw. Its enthusiasm for social structures permanently prejudiced, the failure to assess the expression of others. Hmm, let me see something. Do I have gate 16? No, I don't. I do not have gate 16. All right, line 5, the Grinch, the refusal to share in enthusiasm, right? Pluto is exalted, the moon is in detriment. The power to avoid enthusiasm for the sole purpose of being converted. As with Dickens' Scrooge, eventual conversion leads to greater and more enduring enthusiasm. A lack of confidence in the expression of skills that needs the encouragement of others. Mm. Or the perverse feeling that sharing in enthusiasm hampers individual development. Why should I be happy when dot dot dot, right? A lack of confidence in the value of encouraging others. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, if you have enthusiasm, you're going to have a refusal to share in enthusiasm, right? You're going to have that. So it's the this or that of line 5, right? Line 4 is called the leader, genuine and sincere support and recognition of others. Jupiter's exalted, Mars is in detriment, enthusiasm for and service to higher goals, the skill to recognize and support the talents of others. Mm-hmm. Talent scouts, right? Or the demagogue, the refusal to support or recognize the talents of others, right? The haters out here. Oh, haters. Let me stop. All right, line 3 is independence. You might have line 4 and gate 16. I don't want to give you any reason to think I'm being a jerk or asshole. You got a little bit of hater energy within you, but I think we all do. So come on, let's be serious. You just have to balance out that enthusiasm or lack thereof, right? Um, so, or support of others, supporting the talents of others, right? Genuine and sincere support and recognition of others. So, hey, that's what that is. Line 3 is called independence, self generating and sustaining enthusiasm. The moon is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. I'm sorry, Venus, Mars is in detriment. The proper timing to maintain rhythm and avoid deflation. The independent skill and possible talent to express proper timing and rhythm. Or the child whose overconfidence may lead to frustration and the ensuing dependence on others to regenerate enthusiasm, thus creating an unnecessary reliance. The need to have others confirm one's skills or talent. Yep. You also have the cynic, the sharpness to burst bubbles, right? The sun is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. Self reliance and the skill to judge objectively any claim, regardless of rhetoric. The expression of the skill to judge objectively. It is a skill, right? Fair and balanced, objectively, neutral, stay neutral, regardless of any claim. Or the compulsive cynic, whose very cynicism is a source of enthusiasm. Objectivity expressed through cynicism. And then you have line 1, delusion, which is false enthusiasm. You have the daydreamer, the expression of talent through daydreaming, or the public communication of inevitably unrealized claims, the tendency to express fantasy as fact. Okay? Now we're on gate 17, which is called following or opinion, the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. Right? Line 6, the bodhisattva, the bodhisattva, hisattva, bodhisattva, bodhisattva, I don't know. Perfected, I'm sorry for chopping that up to all my Indian friends. I need to work on that because I read a lot about Indians, Hindus, and Brahma chakra system, and just in general, I read a lot on Indian spirituality, the Rig Veda. I need to do better. I need to probably listen to the accents better so I can not uh, be disrespectful. I don't want to. I don't want to be disrespectful. I am a respecter of your culture and the language. I just don't know it. Yeah, right. So anywho, perfected following, one with and the same as perfected leading, right? The moon is exalted, Jupiter is in detriment. Here you have the great nurturer. The nature of this position is always positive. The possibility in understanding the nature of interdependency to express opinions of value to others, right? Or the tendency on the perfected path, it is a straight line that ends rather than a circle. Where understanding is achieved, the possibility of having the opinion that there is nothing else to learn. Come on now. Let's go. You know that's not true. Let's go. Line 5, no human is an island, and that's true. Teamwork makes the dream work. The recognition, however understood, that there is no end to hierarchies. Hmm. 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 This word hierarchies bothers me more and more these days because they're really man made hierarchies, is what I'm seeing. And it's also being told to us in the cosmic human design, right? The cosmic i-ching. Um, I've I've talked about that plenty of times during this series while reading this book, and I hope you guys do go check that out because, like I said, it says in there are that these hierarchies. This is egotistical man-made things. There is no hierarchy in the universe. is what is being said in cosmic human design. So, yeah, the recognition, however, understood that there is no end to hierarchies. Well, if you withdraw from this man made society in so many ways, if you refuse to participate, you know, and all that, there is an end to hierarchies. There is no hierarchy. But, anywho, I'm going to just keep reading. So, this is Uranus exalted, and Mars is in detriment. The ultimate creative expression of interdependency, whether as God's will or global synthesis, opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual, or the arrogance, despite all the evidence to claim that the buck stops here. The possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. Hmm, I don't know. I need to meditate on that. I need to go ahead and process what's being said for this later on because it didn't just I didn't get it right away. You saw how I was stumbling over this word hierarchies anyway. So I'm really not getting it as fast as I usually get the other one. So it just lets me know I need to meditate on that and try to understand it better. But if you get it, maybe you can leave me a comment and explain it to me a little better because I'm not grasping. It says the ultimate creative expression. This is when it's exalted. The ultimate creative expression of interdependency, whether it's God's will or global synthesis. Opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. Okay. Or on the flip side, the arrogance, despite all the evidence to claim that the buck stops here. The possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. Hmm. I don't want to, I hesitate to speak what I'm thinking at the moment. I just want you guys to let me know what you see. What does this mean to you? This line 5. What all is that saying to you? I'd like to hear your opinion. So let me know. Line 4 is the personal or personnel manager, right? Pluto is exalted. Jupiter is in detriment. I'm sorry. Uh, that's actually, let me see something. Yeah, Jupiter is in detriment. The ability to probe and discover the underlying motivation and resources of those who wish to follow. The ability to probe and discover the underlying motivation and resources of those who wish to follow. The possibility of opinions based on the understanding of others. Or the overgenerous and often misguided acceptance of would be followers, often with disastrous results. The possibility of opinions attracting others. Okay. Line 3 is understanding the awareness that the best road is not necessarily the most interesting. Pluto is exalted, the earth is in detriment. The following of the best road provides the experience necessary to meet the challenge of the road's end. The understanding that the best opinions are grounded in detail. Or the taking of shortcuts. One may get to the end quicker, but essential experience will be missing. The possibility of skipping details and limiting the value of the opinion. We're in gate 17, guys. That's line 3 of gate 17. Do I have gate 17? No, I do not. Do you have gate 17? Let me know in the comments. And which line do you have? Line 2 is discrimination. The benefit of associations based on the highest values. The successful achievement of purpose through proper alignment, right? The possibility to develop opinions through relationships, or an overactive discrimination that leaves one virtually alone. The possibility of being opinionated at the expense of relationships, right? So, a healthy balance again, right? Wholeness, knowing that you have this kind of energy, and it could be a possibility, but balancing it out. I think is best. Line 1, openness. Mars is exalted, Venus in detriment. The energy to sustain a broad spectrum of stimuli, the possibility of having many opinions, or a tendency to limit openness to aesthetically pleasing stimuli, the possibility to limit opinions to what's pleasing, right? Gate 18, work on what has been spoilt. Correction, the vigilance and determination to uphold and defend basic and fundamental human rights. Yes. Line 6 is Buddhahood, right? Buddhahood, the perfected form. Mars is exalted, the moon is in detriment. The Buddha state of the eternal child and the energy to find new horizons to avoid stasis. The potential of the perfected form through correction. Do I have gate 18, guys? I'm looking at my chart, and no, I don't have gate 18. All right, in detriment, the moon, it says the mundane application of the above, the ability to tap public opinion and share methodology, right? Methodology, the potential to share the values of the correction with others. Line 5 is called therapy, the strength to recognize a problem and to accept that it's beyond one's power to solve it alone. Saturn is exalted, right? And Uranus is in detriment. The mental patient, I'm sorry, let's start with exhaustion, right? The wisdom to both seek and provide guidance. The potential for correction and judgment through relationships. Or the mental patient, chronic instability and potential madness, where relationships cannot assist in correcting or correction the potential of mental instability. So now we can see here some of the reasons, one of the reasons why mental instability, right? Chronic instability and potential madness. We're talking about the strength to recognize a problem and to accept that it's beyond one's power to solve it alone, right? So for the mental patient, chronic instability and potential madness, where relationships cannot assist in correction, the potential of mental instability. So you can either go to therapy and get help, or therapy won't ever help. Is that supposed to be said here? Line 4, the incompetent. Difficulties as a result of inadequacies that cannot be resolved because of inadequacies. The earth is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. Given this negative position, survival through suffering, the inability to correct, and its potential for suffering. Or indecision and anxiety and no escape from misfortune, the demands of correction and its potential to generate anxiety. All right. Line 3 is called the zealot, the energetic obsession to clean house, the dissolution of old forms at an acceptable price, an obsession with correction and its critical potential, or rigid judgment that creates as many problems as it solves, an obsession with correction that does not bring satisfaction. All right, line 2 is terminal disease, the recognition that what has been spoilt is irreversible. Acceptance and strength derived from a faith in spiritual regeneration, the acceptance that there is no potential for correction, or the futile raging against the wind, the refusal to accept that there is no potential for correction. So you can accept or refuse to accept, right? That there's no potential for correction. The recognition that what has been spoiled is irreversible. All right. Line 1 is conservatism, the adherence to traditional patterns despite and or in spite of changing circumstances. You have gradual modification to avoid eventual upheaval, the potential to correct through gradual modification of judgments, or the patriarch whose rigidity guarantees deterioration, right? The potential to refuse to correct. Yeah. Okay. We're on to gate 19. We'll end this video when we get to gate 20. Gate 19 is called approach or wanting. That all things are interrelated is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. Line 6, the recluse, the avoidance of contact in general, but not exclusively. Do I have gate 19? I'm looking at my chart. No, I don't have gate 19. All right. Okay. The fool on the hill, the sage that, if you can find him, will talk to you. The energy which generally fuels avoidance. Mm-hmm. Or the sulking child, the self imposed exile that will only end when it attracts appropriate and soothing reaction. Oversensitivity to rejection that fuels avoidance. Right? Line 5, sacrifice, the need to limit personal potential in order to achieve a larger goal. The earth is exalted here, Jupiter is in detriment. The self restraint fundamental to such a nature. Energy to keep one's sensitivities restrained. Or a tendency in sacrifice to condescend. Sacrifice can fuel a lack of sensitivity. Mm-hmm. Line 4, the team player. Individual approach which attracts and accepts cooperation. Mars is exalted. Venus is in detriment. The power and energy for outward activity and the ability to accept others as long as they can keep up. A driving force that can benefit the whole group. The energy to seek out and exalt in the company of others. Or attractive and cooperative, but a tendency to dissatisfaction with the contributions of others. A sensitivity energized by the limitation of others. Okay. You have line 3, dedication. Receptivity to approach can only be maintained through vigilance, right? The natural ease with which communion is maintained, sensitivity and ease fueled by acceptance by others, or a tendency to moodiness that may lead to carelessness, the need to be wanted hampered by oversensitivity. Mm-hmm. Line 2, service, the dedication of personal resources as a result of external contact. Jupiter is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. Dedication and service to the highest values, the energy to want to be of service, or protracted indecision, but given the nature of this position, eventual compliance. The need to be wanted that will eventually turn its energy to service. Yes. And line 1, interdependence. The sun is exalted here, and the moon is in detriment. The successful approach that does not lose its individual character in acceptance. The pressure of wanting without losing one's identity when being accepted by others. Or the tendency, once an approach is accepted, to get stuck in continued reflection at the expense of continued development. The pressure for acceptance which fears eventual rejection. Yeah. Okay. And gate 20, contemplation. Now. And I don't have this gate either. Recognition and awareness in the now which transforms understanding into right action. Line 6 is wisdom. Contemplation which results in the ability to apply understanding, right? It's wisdom. Uh Venus is exalted here. Mercury is in detriment. The establishment for the benefit of society, values, ideals, and their patterns, and how they can be understood and applied. The ability to transform individual awareness for general application and understanding. hmm Or the same as above, but motivated by the self satisfying mental challenge rather than the altruism. The ability to transform individual awareness for general application for the mental challenge. Line 5, realism. Contemplation in and of itself is no guarantee of success. Here, Saturn is exalted and Uranus is in detriment, where concentration on detail results in a perfected form, the success of expressing awareness through detail, or where reality creates dissatisfaction and adds to instability, the expression of awareness in the now through dissatisfaction with the reality that one sees. Yeah. Line 4 is application, recognition and awareness that can only be transformed into action in cooperation with those who have the ability to act upon the understanding. Jupiter is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. The teacher whose students transcend him, where the expression of awareness can only be turned into action through others, the teacher. Or a tendency to prefer theory to application, the expression of the awareness as theory with little interest in its application. You have line 3, self awareness, understanding derived from analysis of personal actions and effects, the proper attunement and development of the personality through self consciousness, the expression of self conscious awareness in the now, or self consciousness in the extreme that hampers development, the expression of self consciousness in the extreme. Line 2, the dogmatist, restrictive and intentionally limited understanding. The limitation, if personal and exclusive, is less negative through aesthetic withdrawal, a restrictive awareness of the now, or the power to lead others down a narrow path, the gift through expression of leading others down a narrow and restrictive path. Okay. And line 1 is superficiality, a reliance on shallowness, the raising of superficiality to an art form, right? The sloganeer, superficial expression as an art form. Who knew? Or the superficial expression of the personality, the expression of the superficial personality, right? So it could be an art form or it could be your whole personality. Well, that's the end of this video. We want to keep it short and simple so that people can find their gates quickly and not have to go through hours and hours of video. So we'll break down this section 10. We'll probably just do 10 gates for each video. So we're still wrapping up. We're towards the end of the book though. And I want to remind you guys, we still have to get a tiebreaker for this poll we have going on. What's the theme of the next book we read in this Openly Occultic Book Club? We have books on magic. You could choose a book on magic. You could vote for books on tarot. You could vote for books on spells, or you could vote on books for voodoo, voodoo, right? Right now, 50-50 are voting for magic books and tarot books. So you could be the tiebreaker today if you got on the poll on the post on the YouTube channel and voted, gave your vote for which topic you want to read next. I'll pick the books, but you pick the topic. You know what I mean? I have thousands of books. So as we get to the end of this book, we want to be ready for the next book we're going to read. So I need you guys to go ahead and jump in there, cast your votes. Let's see what theme you guys want to read next, because it's not just a human design book club. This is the Openly Occultic Book Club. We're reading occultic books. We're reading books on energy work, right? So that's what we're doing here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad you guys are sticking in here with me. I'm seeing likes, I'm seeing comments, I'm getting more subscribers to the channel. So thank you guys for rocking with me. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Meet me in the CGH Openly Occultic chat room so we can talk about these things, right? And until next time, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Wholeness and balance.